Let's talk about Terra. Terraform Labs CEO Kwon was served by the SEC at Messari's Mainnet conference last month. This is according to a new lawsuit filed by Kwon and Terraform Labs, alleging that the SEC acted in bad faith on this one, and they're suing the SEC over this, and that's what's going on. This follows some reporting last month in which Kwon told the Defiant that he had not been served, and indeed, he had been served. We were trying to figure out who this was at the time. We were unable to figure it out in any meaningfully confirmed way, so we did not report on who had or had not been served, but now we know who got served. And this speaks to ramped up enforcement efforts by U.S. regulators around cryptocurrency projects. All right, this one's super interesting to me. A lot of good stuff here. I'm going to throw this straight to Danny, because Danny, I want your thoughts on this whole thing. What's up? What's your take on this Do Kwon thing?
So, the biggest thing that comes out of this for me is the fact that Do Kwon went to the Defiant after he was served and said, "I was not served." There was a bit of an open secret that it was him. At the conference, everyone was trying to figure it out. A lot of people said, "Oh, it was Do." We're not comfortable running that. We did not touch it. And then he came out and he denied it publicly, only to then use it, go back later and sue the SEC over it. So I'm really wondering what the strategy was right there to knee-jerk say, no, nothing happened. If only then the future strategy was to go forward and sue the SEC for acting in bad faith for, as it happens, serving a lawsuit at the top of an escalator right before he was going on to a panel to talk. Now, of course, that the timing of that is more unfortunate than suspect, but there are quite a lot of legal issues that they bring up in the suit that I'm not fully prepared to parse through, for I am not a lawyer. But they are saying that the SEC acted in bad faith in delivering and serving someone who they said was willing to work with the SEC in an open fashion, and therefore should not be subject to getting ambushed, so to speak, in such a way.
I mean, it's almost like you're suggesting, Danny, that the SEC sometimes acts in bad faith, which is shocking to me, seeing how they have responded so eagerly to embrace the comments and feedback of the crypto community previously. I mean, when Library went to DC and met with all of these officials and government agencies. Oh, wait, no. SEC was the one agency that refused to meet with them and then went on to tell Library, oh, we're open anytime to engage with you. And yet they're clearly not. There's no engagement. It does not surprise me that the SEC is acting in bad faith, and that they are going after people even if they're willing to work with them. In fact, they're even going after people, and those people are trying to find a way to settle, and they're denying that. There are many, many cases out there, including Library, which have been trying to settle for years, and the SEC has refused and basically said, we're going to continue going after you until you're bankrupt. And so it's really sad to see this. I'm pretty interested in what Terraform Labs is doing. I really like the Mirror protocol. It's a way to mint crypto assets in a way that mimics US stocks, which is kind of interesting. And obviously the government hates this. As soon as Binance started talking about we're going to have tokenized stock offerings, every country in the world was like, okay, Binance, you were cut and you can no longer operate here. So the governments really want to keep control over that side of things. So it's not surprising at all that as soon as Terraform Labs comes in and does something, they're going to get hit with a subpoena, even if they're willing to settle, cooperate, whatever. It doesn't seem like the SEC really cares. It's really devastating to see them push all this technology overseas, because that really does seem like the only outcome from this. They're not protecting consumers. They're just keeping control over an archaic and outdated financial infrastructure. But I'll throw this to you, Zach.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing here is that Terra thinks that it has enough to take this fight public in a way that could serve its interests, right? So Terra is a quietly large ecosystem. You mentioned the Mirror protocol, where you can mint synthetic stocks. There's also UST, which is an algorithmic stablecoin that is getting up there in the stablecoin rankings. So for Terraform and Terra ecosystem itself to sort of rise to sort of be on the radar of the SEC at this point in time is certainly interesting, and it's curious to see if there are other projects that have also been served with similar notices and maybe aren't being so public about what has happened. So the fact that they are going public and they think that, hey, Do Kwon, resident of South Korea, this is not your remit, SEC. We're going to fight you on this one. It's going to be interesting to see what shakes out here and whether or not the long arm of the U.S. law enforcement can indeed reach overseas in the way that it has with past cases in the crypto world. Naomi, I saw you.
I mean, it is worthwhile pointing out that the SEC, we talk about it like this cohesive agency. There are people in the SEC who are actually great. It just seems that the decisions the SEC is making are not great. So whoever gets that ultimate decision-making capability, which is probably Gary Gensler, just is kind of missing the mark here. But people like Hester Peirce, I mean, a couple of weeks ago, she put out a great article that was talking about how crypto is sometimes compared to the Wild West and how the Wild West was actually great and how there's so much innovation and entrepreneurial spirit. Like, she's talking about embracing that stuff while the SEC's actions just seem to be shutting that stuff down. And we have in the comments on YouTube, so Kieran Mosqueda says, SEC, strong-arming and extorting commission. I mean, yeah, it kind of seems that way. I like that, Kieran. But Danny, did I see your hand go up again?
Yeah, well, the SEC, I mean, going back to the Wild West, the romance of the Wild West is more mythical than truth. You've got a situation in the Wild West where there were areas ruled by outlaws. People had to turn to the sheriffs to maybe institute order when they could. Cattle would disappear. People would run these I can't remember, Wolverine banks or some sort of banks that would issue their own money that were valueless. Wildcat banks, thank you. Wildcat banks that issue their own money and they were worthless. And then they're so worthless they'd paint the walls of their houses wallpaper with these notes. So I mean, I think that Gary is a little too forward on this investor protection beat. He's definitely not protecting investors from anything other than massive gains, I would say. But I think that I'm excited to see where he goes with this. And also, I think the SEC probably did act in bad faith. Doesn't really serve Terra's interests to out themselves in this lawsuit unless they truly think that they have a good case to stand on in fighting back. So hoping to see where this goes next.
For anyone who doesn't want to buy into the mainstream propaganda about wildcat banking, please read George Selgin for the actual history of very successful banks that ended up having to be taxed out of existence in order to get rid of them because the government couldn't compete. But I will throw it to you, Zach.
The ferocious Wolverine banks. That is some good stuff. I'm glad we coined that today. Good stuff, Danny. Last question, you, Will. I'm going to put you on the spot. If you are a big Luna bag holder, are you spooked right now? What is this, bullish or bearish for the future of the Terra ecosystem?
That's a good question. I'm pretty bullish on everything right now. So number go up. Let's just say that. That's the easy answer.
This is not investment advice.
Well reasoned, sir.